Oh, if I can unmute my mic. That was a theme song. Someone made a theme song for this. That's amazing. I asked. Oh, that's just. You have no idea how much that warms my heart that someone wrote a song. Someone took the time. Well, one took the time to learn like an instrument over who knows how long, and then took that skill set and made a song for this. That's just the like I don't have a webcam because the entire world is sold out of webcams, but I am grinning ear to ear right now. So anyway, this is episode 2 of QuaranTalk, where the world isn't better, but is getting a little more normal. Like last time, oh man, I was in hunker down mode and prepare for the worst mode and just not feeling great. Like week 1 of quarantine was a rough week. It was, well, one, the weather was worse. It was cold and rainy, and I am confined to an entire house, which, to be honest, I bet there's so many people in this world that are just so they would give anything. They would just be like, "Oh, I have a wife. I would just I'll trade you. I'll trade you your backyard for the person I promise to love until my life extinguishes." It is actually, yeah. We're doing okay, at least where we are, and I hope you are too. Um, Me and my wife and my 2 kids, we go outside every day and we play in the backyard now. The weather's nice. We play in the sandbox. That's a big plastic turtle, and we play in our little kiddie pool, and it's nice. It's we were actually having a video chat with some friends who are in. They also have 2 kids. Well, actually, Luna's one of my daughter Luna's one of her best friends. They were talking about how you know we haven't spent this much time with their daughter since she was born, like in a row, right? And it's like, oh wow, that's true. We're like, we haven't just spent weeks and weeks straight with Luna, and like once a child starts daycare, they're just kind of there for a while. But anyway, that's parent talk. You're not here for parent talk. You're here for Corin talk. Um, so I'm looking at my show doc right now. We have a song, thanks to somebody. I actually have no idea who. I don't even know who to thank. Someone did it, and he, she, or they shared a Google Drive link, and yeah, actually, I'm looking at the link right now. I really don't have any way of like doxing them, and I would only dox them to thank them. Um, and then the next thing I have on the docket is corrections. So last time I fudged some fudge. I didn't like fudge is where you purposely sort of obfuscate something. I accidentally messed up some math, and I sort of gave the impression that the COVID-19 virus could, given 10 iterations of infection, infect every atom in the known universe, which is inaccurate. That's a little bit above its infection rate. I put I think it was like 315 under an exponent when I shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been under an exponent. It should have been multiplied by the infection rate to a number of iterations of an infection, assuming unique and like 100% contagious rate exposure time. Like, so basically it would have been like 2 to the 10th times 315 as opposed to like 315 to the 10th, which is a gigantic number. So yeah, corrections there. Next, going back to I guess not an email, but a mailbag question from last time. Someone asked me what my favorite thing about this pandemic is, and I'm not retracting it. I still really like how I can see very clearly what my impact can be. Again, like going if you go back even to accurate math, not my made up math, where if you take a walk, you infect every atom in the known universe. But if you inadvertently infect, two people, and those two people infect two people, and you know, those two people infect two people, and so on and so on. As that cascades down, just like as a comp sci, which I know, like in 168 and 268, we haven't really had the lectures to spend time on this, but it's very quickly like, oh wow, this is a problem. Like if someone were to present me with an algorithm that said like, oh, I've made a coding solution to this problem, but as the problem size grows, like the user just picks a number, and it just so happens that the user picks a number of times that the number of times that exposure could happen to someone else. And it's 2 whatever the number pick or the user picks. So 2 like basically the user picks the exponent. I'd be like, hey, that's gonna get out of hand really fast. Like like it won't take long before just an int doesn't have the capacity to house that number, and before and beyond that, before long, the next level up from an int has the capacity to house that number, or a long, which is a kind of it sounds like a joke data type, but is real. But it's in short, it is a very if assuming the scientists are correct, which I don't really have any reason to think otherwise. Something that spreads very fast. That if I were contagious, or if my child was contagious, or if I were to somehow inadvertently spread this, I'm glad I'm taking every precaution. That feels good. But some stuff that came out after the fact that hadn't really made itself known to me at the time of the recording of the last QuaranTalk, and that is free games. I've been getting so many. I haven't been installing them or downloading them or playing them, but Bruce Almighty, have I been at least adding free games to my account. I really don't know any better place. If there's a better place, let me know and I can share it with other people. I am, because of my PhD dissertation, which I guess a whole lot of people can't really say this is why I look at Reddit a lot, but because of my dissertation, which was about social content on social media and the lifespan of such, I had to become very, very involved in and aware of and look at a lot the popular social media sites of the time when I was doing my dissertation, which were Reddit and regrettably 4chan and YouTube and Twitter, which I've been banned from over 20 times. And that's on me. That's not on Twitter. I'll maybe I'll bring that up in a later show. But yeah, just like what keychain do I have from Japan? Next time we run into each other, if you're like, hey, how'd you get banned from Twitter over 20 times? Yeah, put that in your pocket and ask me the next time you actually see me, and I'll tell you the whole story. But anyway, there's a subreddit just called Game Deals, and this week it's been piping hot with a lot of free games, and I've just been like, oh, it's a game, and okay, install, or not install, like obtain. The second thing is connecting with strangers. Whenever I go outside, because I have a dog, so I still walk my dog, and My son is still very young, and stroller rides are very relaxing to him. And we live in a neighborhood where, at least for the time being, walking isn't, or at least by CDC standards, isn't hazardous. Where a lot of the time I'm just walking in the middle of the street and there's no one around for like a block. But whenever I see someone, like maybe like way up in their, their front porch, or I pass someone on the other side of this block, people I don't know, they say hi, they wave, and it definitely feels like the default instinct of everyone going through this is like just to connect to anyone that they see. Not even necessarily that they know, just on any level, just to kind of acknowledge a shared experience, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, not a whole lot in to get into. Last time we read a whole poem, which I don't know, felt like homework or something. This week, not a whole lot to get into other than just to talk about two things. One, I don't know about you, but I've been having reoccurring dreams, or at least so I've had reoccurring dreams before, like tornadoes are a reoccurring theme in my dreams for as long as I can remember. Another reoccurring theme in my dreams is if there's ever an airplane in my dreams, it will crash. Or anything in the air. It could be a helicopter, an airplane, a jet, a frisbee, a blimp, a zeppelin, a UFO. Anything that is flying will crash in my dreams. Recently, the theme of my dreams, the reoccurring theme, and it's been like almost every single night, is I am in a public place, and in my dream, I've chosen to go there, like against my better judgment, and then someone is there that I know that is like, oh, I can't believe you came here. One night it was just a friend of mine saying like, I can't believe you came here. What about your kids? The next night it was two former presidents and Bernie Sanders. And then what was the other one? I think I had a dream where it was Nick Offerman. No. Sorry, not Nick Offerman. Nathaniel Rateliff from the band Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats I went to an Applebee's to get food. I was like, oh, we're out of food. In my dream, we're out of food. It's like, I'll go to an Applebee's and just get takeout. And I went there and they were playing. I was like, oh man, Nathaniel Rateliff, I gotta go meet him. And like, I shook his hand in the dream. I was like, oh, I really shouldn't shake this person's hand. And then like, I said like, hey, can we do a picture together? And it was just like basically everything you're not supposed to do now. So yeah, I've had this recurring dream of disobeying social distancing, which has been weird. And the only other thing I really have for tonight is what I'm looking forward to post this, and there's quite a few things, like going to, like, I guess like at the top of the list is letting my children play with their friends again, which we have neighbors that are the same age as my children. They every day they're like, why can't we go over there? And we have to say like, right now the explanation is because of the germs. But we can talk to them, and they've actually started this kind of, neat system that would definitely arrive in some sort of young adult book, where my daughter paints rocks and leaves the rocks on her friend's porch for her to find the next day. And this has been like this secret, air quotes, secret exchange for a few days now, which is just adorable. But yeah, mainly just letting my kids play with people again, not having to explain to them like, no, you have to stay back 6 feet for I can't tell you why, or at least I can't tell you why in any sort of with any sort of metrics that make sense. So And I'm personally just looking forward to, I mean, I guess the thing I missed in this context, like I do miss teaching in person. Like making videos to teach is just so different than what I'm used to, and so different than why I got into teaching. Um, like this, like teaching through videos is not something I would want to do permanently by any stretch of the imagination. And beyond that, it's things like I'm really missing board game nights. Those will be fun again. So, I think it's time that we dive into the mailbag because there's a ton in there, which is, again, also warms my heart greatly. So, these are I'm reading these sort of semi live, um, and I'll put the ones that I'm willing to read into the docket. If you're falling behind in class before COVID-19, how do students try to perform well in this class? If you're falling behind before this whole fiasco happened, I'm sorry. I would say it's not going to be easier now that COVID-19's here. Regrettably, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not gonna be like, oh no, it's so much easier now. But what you can do if you are a student and you need help, all right, let's just say if we rephrase this as you need help in the class, the easiest thing to reach out, even if the first step, like if there's some sort of mental hurdle where it's just like I feel like I am not going to do well in this course, but I don't know anything beyond that. If you can muster the strength just to email, like just me or your TA or me and your TA or whoever you feel comfortable communicating with at the time, or as of today, as of Monday, there's a Slack channel, and just getting into like the Lab 5 or the Lab 6 channel and saying like, I need help. Is anyone here willing to have a conversation with me about something I don't understand? It's gonna be online now, and I'm sorry you've struggled up till now. This doesn't specify a class or 168 or 268, but the first step is just reaching out to somebody on some platform. You don't want to stay quiet. You don't want to wait for due dates to start to roll over you before you start to reach out and get some help. So I'd reach out in an email, reach out in the Slack channel, and start a conversation. But I think just undeniably, it's going to be a little bit harder now. At least from my chair, it's going to be harder. So the next one is about, can you make your video screen bigger? It's hard to see what I typed. I hope this is big enough now. I hope so. Okay. So, have you ever heard of the programming language Julia, and how do you keep up with the new languages being developed? I have not heard of Julia. That is my wife's name, but I did not know there was a programming language named that. And how do I keep up with the new languages being developed? Kind of the same way the whole world does, which is not good. That's like most comp scis don't keep up like the way the world does, and just like kind of through hearing about languages crop up in popularity. I don't actively research or keep up with the newest language, just because I've seen so many new ones come out and fade. Like there was a one like, oh, this is the next big thing. Like basically, it was everyone was who got on the hype train early about this language called Go from Google. I was like, this is going to replace so much. Like all intro classes are going to be taught in Go. Does so many things so quickly. And what really happened was that did not take off, and Python did. and they basically at the time, depending on who you talk to, like Go was going to be the next big thing, and I don't even know if Go is supported anymore. So I kind of just wait for the next big language to come to me. The next one's a thank you for doing QuaranTalk, and about how it helps you feel less lonely, and I hope it does. But to be honest, I do this for me. It helps me feel less lonely and feels like I'm talking to a person again. The next one was how we got our song at the beginning, which is amazing. Which actually, I'm just gonna stop right now and play it again. They've earned it. They made a song. We're gonna play it again. If I can figure out how to work a browser. Do it, Google. It's a song. It's a song. It's a song. It's a song made by a person. A person made the song. They're playing the piano. It's good. It's good. And we're listening to it now. We're listening to it now. And it's over. Next. Ooh. All right, we're starting to get into some juicier topics. All right. Have you ever advised a student not to remain in CS or felt they'd be more successful in another field? If so, how'd you go about it? If not, what would you advise for those who fall in that category? So first, have I ever advised a student not to remain in CS? The answer is yes. I would advise anyone who is not feeling like any sort of sensation or semblance or soupçon or however fancy of a word you want to pick about feeling passionate about what you're doing or liking the topic that you're being exposed to and the environment and the student, like your peers, like as much as it may suck to think, like when you go to college and you pick a discipline, like the peers and who you're gonna have to work with over the next 4 years, like that's a big deal, like that's a huge deal in terms of just percentage of your life. That's like, we're talking about over 20% of your life you're gonna spend with these people. So yeah, no, I've absolutely said, especially the people who tell me that they're just not excited, not interested, not really motivated by anything going on in the department. Like, don't just stay here and suffer because it was just like what you happened to pick. Find what you want. Like, take other classes. I started off as a chemical engineer, and I'm so happy I did not wind up a chemical engineer. That doesn't mean that everyone should end up a comp sci. It just means that everyone should end up what they actually are excited about. So how did I go about it? I basically told them my story about how I started off as something different and wound up where I am. And if you are in a situation where you're like, I don't know if I want to be a comp sci, the best thing you can do is do some reflection and think, like, is there any topic that you immediately get excited about, or any field or profession, or hell, even like movie with a job that you're like, oh man, I wish I could do that. And if there is a course at KU that offers anything close to that, take it. If not, I don't want to blow up anyone's whole world, but sometimes, like, just college wasn't the place that your life meant to take you, But yeah, I've definitely advised people not to be comp sci. Absolutely. So next one is, what made you start a career in computer science? I feel like I've kind of hit this. I guess what really led me down this path was I started off in engineering, And the reason I wound up in engineering was because my friends in high school were going to Rolla, and I was like, well, I should probably go there too because they're my friends. And I started off as a chemical engineer because I really liked my chemistry class because of my chemistry teacher. I get to Rolla and I hate chemistry because of my chemistry teacher. And I look around at my friends are doing, and they're doing comp sci, and I see like, oh wow, you don't have to pour test tubes of stuff into other test tubes of stuff and wear gloves and goggles, and it's like, oh, that looks, I think I like that better. And I wasn't ready, for whatever reason, I wasn't ready to switch all the way over, so I went to computer engineering. But to be computer engineering for a semester is the same thing as being like nothing for a semester, because especially the students at KU, like you have to take 140, which is like the air quotes hardware side, and 168, which is air quotes like the software side. So it's not like I was, you know, on active duty as a compy or anything. It was, I thought I was going to be a compy for a bit, and then I eventually was like, oh no, I think comp sci is where it's at. I like the speed of being able to try new things, and I like the accessibility of, I can just download a compiler, I can download the editor, I can just like start going on whatever computer I have at the time. I don't have to go to a specific lab at a specific time. And I saw like the projects that my friends were working on. They're making their little, video games. Like, oh, this is exciting. So that's basically how I wound up here. Okay. How do you maintain your work-life balance with family and all the work you do at KU? The answer is I do not. I don't. And once I figure out how to, I'll probably be happier. I think it entails my children growing up. But it's not really something that I know a lot of people that have obtained it. I think the only people I know who have obtained it are people who have retired. Work is no longer a part. Like the work isn't on the scale anymore, so it doesn't have to be balanced. Um, but otherwise, it's really more of like a mantra to think about. Like, hang on, how much time have I given work this week, and how much time have I given like my family, which is different, by the way, which is very, very different than giving how much time have I given myself. Um, so there's, at least for me, there's like three players. There's my job, and this isn't ranked, like just saying what the three players are: my job, my family, and myself. And I especially in quarantine, it's like an everyday thing. And me and my wife have worked on like trying to organize a schedule to set up like set times where there's like, okay, this is work time, this is time when the entire family's together, and this is time where her or I take turns, like just like, okay, you go do whatever you need to do. And sometimes it's work, and sometimes it's just like, self care. um yeah. So in short, I haven't figured out any key to it, but if you're alone, it it would like, if you're, if you're not with a family, if you're not married right now, I would say it's mainly a matter of just taking inventory of like how much time did I spend on this class or this class or this class this week, which I know, especially now, is such a weird question to answer. Even for the courses I teach, I don't even know how much time my courses are how much time I should expect you to spend on my courses now. Um, but if you have like work that you're still going to or still doing from home, I know that's but like, this is something I do know very well. That's a very different experience now, working from home, because you have so many things around you, especially if you have family or kids or whatever. Or if you're just like, if you're home by yourself, like, you don't have anyone there to interact with or bounce questions off, or and you can't just like walk to campus and go to office hours. So it's I didn't have the answers before of how to strike that balance, and I definitely don't have them now, but I would say that it is more of a thing to monitor than to just like, feel like you've turned the key in and locked up and been like, you slap your hands and be like, yep, I got it, and I'm done with it. It's more of a day to day or week to week at least. How much time out of my finite amount of life did my work get? Did my family get? Did I get? So, next one just says, I love this. That's great. And to please post more, which I am. Whoa. Okay. Do you have a textbook you would recommend for independent learning? Not really. No. I don't have a textbook. I have a site. I would recommend W3 Schools. The URL is just w3schools.com, I think. Let me double check that. Yeah. And they actually don't have a ton of C++. They have some C++ exercises, but if independent learning out of a book, unless you are a student who is just really good at learning out of a book, then I would actually recommend online sources where you can interact with them. They have immediate feedback, things like that. There's no one that you have to wait to ask questions to or anything. I would recommend websites over books. I think there's a reason it's called hypertext as opposed to just text, because it's fancier. It can do more. I learned great from BoardWorks. I think the question was, how will basically BoardWorks proceed? And the BoardWorks are basically just going to come out in the videos that I put up. And it's up to you to do them, but please use email and the Slack channels to get feedback about your BoardWorks. This one's about Garmin. Since you have connections to Garmin, do you recommend that any of your students? I do have connections at Garmin, at least for right now. As again, this is more bad news. Basically, every company's in sort of a hiring standstill. They're like, because everyone's sort of unsure about when the economy will pick up and for how long, things are going to be in this like weird turbulent state. So, but in just a broader sense, yeah, if you want to know, if you want to just, if you need or I guess if you want to know or speak to someone at Garmin, just email me directly and I'd be happy to, pass your information along. I don't know any recruiters exactly, but if you just want to talk to someone who works there and learn what they do and what their day to day is, I'd be happy to. Yeah, that'd be great just to send an email directly to me. Whoa. Finger slipping again. All right. You mentioned that you would like to do voice acting. Would you ever consider doing voice acting for a student project? Probably not. I have appeared in a student's game because they drew me as like a playing card in the game. But I guess to be honest, the actual prospect of having to do voice acting sounds very involved. Like, cause you have to like get directed and do pitch and like oh no, this is what you're feeling. But I guess if it was something small, I'd do like a small part. I don't know if I'd be able to do like, hours and hours of voice acting. But if it was like a couple of lines, maybe. Did you ever considering majoring in electrical engineering? not electrical, but computer engineering, as we just mentioned. And did you ever want to work with AI? Actually, I have a weird history with AI. I was enrolled in an AI course, which was at my undergrad like a notoriously difficult course, and then I got mono for the, I guess, first and only time, and I had to drop it because I could not do anything for like 2 weeks, and so I got zero actual like real experience with it in my undergrad, and then in my graduate work I took a machine learning course, which at the end of that course I was 100% certain I had failed, and then I ended up getting an A, and I still to this day I don't know how that happened. Um, yeah, so I have a very weird experience with AI, and then ever since then I've just been like using pre-made, not pre-made, basically tools that have algorithms already programmed into them, and I've been using those. And I guess that's, I don't know, you might count my data mining courses, which I actually took and learned and loved from Dr. Jersey Busey, who's retiring regrettably this semester. Um, but in terms of like, I guess like, what the whole world would call AI, yeah, I have a very strange relationship with that topic. Where can we find the code from the video lectures? Those are just linked on the wiki as well. That like in the table where you click the link to watch the video, those should be just there on the wiki as well. What is a new hobby you want to try? I guess in quarantine times it's gardening, but I know I'm not gonna do that. Other than that, a new hobby I want to try. Um, I wish I was better at making bread. I tried making bread one time. And I guess for now I'll just say, long story short, I tried making bread once and I ended up covered in dough and weeping. Yeah. So I wish I was better at baking. And this would actually be a pretty good time to be good at baking. So, what type of keyboard do you use at home? A crappy old Dell that I don't even know where I got this keyboard. This is a piece of junk. Nothing fancy. Just what I think I may have just like a friend of mine was gonna throw this in the trash, and I was like, yeah, I'll put in a like I have a huge duffel bag of just parts and wires, and there's probably like three more keyboards just like this that were gonna end up in the trash, and this is the one that made it out. What are you doing to stay productive and getting up early? I can't seem to get started on anything until noon or later. My children wake me up every day by like no later than like 6 a.m. So they make me get up. That is not the same thing as being productive. It's actually much harder to be productive with my children around because um, to like I can't make a video lecture until I am in essentially like a locked room, because we actually the first week we tried this, and week one, like day one, I was already like panicking, like, oh my god, I gotta get these lectures made. My students are waiting for video lectures, and then my daughter runs in, and her like, she's supposed to be like at least 80% potty trained by now, but just underwear full of poop, and I just have to like pause recording and deal with that because you can't just not deal with it. You have to deal with it. Um, so I guess on what axis am I being productive? As a parent, I was very productive, but in terms of work, not very productive. And so to be productive, I have to make sure that there's time in the day and occasion set up. Like right now, like I'm done with my video lectures, they're recorded, everything's tucked away, and I've answered all my emails, at least that I got as of before starting with the recording, and I've answered everything in the Slack channel before I started recording, and now I have this time, this hour wedged out to do this thing, And so if you have the luxury of being able to do that, that is my method. If you have kids, which I hope you don't right now, because I wish I didn't right now. Just kidding, Luna and Alec. I love you who are listening to this 20 years in the future. Um, it's hard. Especially now. It is hard to find to make sure you're actually like gerrymandering the minutes of the day to be productive. It's tricky, tricky. Um, You're awfully paranoid about not recording a lecture. Have you ever gotten through an entire lecture or most of one and realized it hadn't been recording or just wasting that time? Yes. Yes, of course, yes. That's why I got paranoid. It was the first day of the first week of quarantine. And I'd done this where so watch this. Scene 1, scene 2, which is just a bunch scene 3. Um so I just gotten the hang of, recording videos without just like recording the desktop wholesale. But I learned a very hard lesson that I also have to include the audio input, not just the visual input. And so, like, scene 1 had audio, scene 3 did not. And so it was like me going like, and so whenever you're making don't forget to use the keyword. And so much of the audio was just missing. And that was I did an entire hour that way, which just recording, not to mention like the preamble and like uploading and waiting for it to process and then seeing if it had actually worked. So yeah, I've wasted time recording things that were worthless, which is why there's like an entire category of job called producer, where someone just sits there with a pair of headphones on, being like, "Yep, we're good." Why you do sound checks before music concerts and things. So I have definitely lost time to botching a recording, and even now I'm looking at the recording software right now, and I'm seeing my little voice going like blah, 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 like it's bouncing up and down. But I'm still paranoid that this didn't work, and this entire QuaranTalk is ruined. But if it's not, I hope you enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna let some anonymous hero who actually took the time to write and record a song, which is just one of the most generous things anyone's ever done for me, for no reason. Play us out if it works. So I'll see you next week. Probably Monday. We'll see how the world has changed since then. I'm feeling better. I hope you are. I know, in terms of, Corona and things like that, the numbers are scary. But remember that 2 weeks ago, what we're doing 2 weeks ago is what is impacting the numbers now, and everything we're doing now, we won't get to reap what we're sowing right now for probably another 2 weeks. But if you're staying at home and social distancing and all that good stuff, then you are sowing a good future. So, all right, play us out, anonymous human being.